You're live.
What's happening, brothers and sisters? Welcome. This is a Reparations Day commemoration here in Georgia. We have an incredible panel of participants, of legislators from across the country and here in Georgia. And we're just very excited and thankful that you are joining us. We're encouraging you now, while I'm talking, to take a moment, get this watch party started. We are recording this and we will broadcast again, but we really would enjoy having as much participation as possible. Again, I'm Maoli Davis. I'm one of the founders of Black Man Lab, as well as Beacon Hill Black Alliance for Human Rights. And we're really grateful and thankful for NCOBRA, the leading reparations organization in the country and around the world, for their support, participation, and sponsorship of this activity, as well as Dr. Akinyele Umoja from Malcolm X Grassroots Movement. And before we continue, we will turn it over for the welcome, as well as a libations by Brother Dr. Akinyele Umoja, and then we will have Brother Jamoke give a welcome from NCOBRA, and Sister Olaremi bring greetings, as well as Sister Anana, and then the panel will begin. So again, thank you all. And as we say, we want to lift up Dr. Conrad Worrell, and as he would say, reparations now. You have to unmute, Baba.
Thank you. Reparations now. In the name of Creator in heaven and all of our spirits who sit at the feet of the Creator in lifetime which to come, we say Ashe. We salute all of our ancestors who were fortunate enough to be buried in the soil of Africa, lifetime which to come. We salute all of our ancestors who died during the Middle Passage, in lifetime which to come. We salute all of our ancestors whose names we do not know. All ancestors, blacker than the skies at midnight, brighter than the noonday sun, and all the beautiful shades of Africa in between. Radiant priests, warriors, and mystic scientists, field slaves, house slaves, domestic workers, factory workers, professionals, freedom fighters. Give us the inspiration to fight 1,000 lions. Give us the enlightenment to unravel the mysteries of the universe, and give us the sustenance to travel through the trackless swamps of disharmony. Oh, ancestors, we ask you to join us on this day of recognition for reparations. We ask you to bless your son, Dr. Conrad Worrell, on his birthday as he travels to the world of spirits. Ashe, Ashe, Asheo. And at this time, we would like you to unmute for a second, those of you who are on, and just, you could talk over each other. It doesn't make any difference. Just call out the name of some of our national ancestors who fought for reparations, like Mario Baddelli, Queen Mother Moore,
John Conyers,
Well,
Ghani,
Papa Hannibal Afrique, Queen Mother Dorothy Benton Lewis,
Dr. John Henry Clark,
Henrietta Wood,
W.
Jerry Alcani,
Malcolm X,
Sunni Ali,
Malcolm X, Martin Luther King,
Amos Wilson.
And then we all are here for our own ancestors who brought us here. Those many who were enslaved, those who witnessed lynchings or were lynched, those who lived during apartheid or Jim Crow in this country. We ask you to call out the names of your personal ancestors who survived that so you could be here today.
Ray Slade,
Stanford,
Augustus Smith James, Henry Elijah James,
Jack Vance,
Lawrence, Jasper Simmons, Ola,
Jack Vance Jr.,
Olaya Odafunke,
Yeah.
Ray Slade and Solomon G. Slade.
And then during this month of Black August, we want to remember and salute our political prisoners and prisoners of war. Again, we salute Conrad Royal, Baba Conrad Royal, Dr. Royal, who led the fight for reparations, who led a delegation of our people to Durban, South Africa in 2001 to get the transatlantic slave trade named as a crime against humanity against our people, and to constantly organize on a grassroots level for reparations, supporting organizations like NCOBRA and leading the National Black United Front. With that being said, Ashe. Ashe. And I would just like to say on behalf of the New African People's Organization and Atlanta chapter of the Malcolm X grassroots movement, we welcome you. We appreciate this new development of particularly people on the municipal level, county level, and our brother Barron on the state level who are fighting for reparations through the electoral arena. We think it's a positive development. We support it, and we're just blessed to be in the company. Thank you, brothers and sisters, and free the land.
Free the land.
All right, Brother Jamoke.
Free the land. All right. Greetings, everyone. Peace and power. Assalamu alaikum. Shi'alafiyani. My name is Brother Nanakwesi Jamoke Ifitayo. Currently, I serve as the Southeast Regional Representative of NCOBRA, the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations America. I also serve as the male co-chair of the Atlanta chapter of NCOBRA, and I also serve as the facilitator of the Ashe Committee of NCOBRA. We welcome you to be a part of this dialogue, this conversation, this organizing effort to advance reparations at the local, city, and state level. I want to thank Brother Mowley and the organizers of this event for corralling me to be a part of this. and thank Baba AK, because he pretty much acknowledged a lot of the things that I wanted to acknowledge in my opening and welcome. So I will skip over that, but I do want to acknowledge that this is also the month where we're lifting up Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who is and we always recognize the female complements, Amy Jack Garvey and Amy Ashwood Garvey. But this month is the 100th anniversary of the most profound convention ever held by people of African descent, probably, that lasted for an entire month, where the red, black, and green flag was introduced and UNIACL came into existence in a powerful and strong way. So we recognize also his Earth Day, which is on Monday, August 17th. And we already talked about Black August. Reparations is a demand that sits in coalition with our demand for abolition of prisons, for the ending of prisons. I've often talked about that. When we talk about reparations, we're actually talking about not just police reform, we're actually talking about ending of prisons and a total change of the so-called justice system in this country, including abolition of prison. So I just wanted to just share with people that NCOBRA has been giving guidance to this movement of even localizing HR 40 for many years. This movement has not just now started. As some people like to think or argue, this has been a ongoing movement since before the ending of slavery all the way up to now. But even specifically when we talk about city and state organizing around reparations, we want to recognize a campaign that NCOBRA did called Reparations Yes Cities, starting in the 1990s, where many cities passed resolutions, including the city of Atlanta and others, Chicago and others that will be represented, passed resolutions in support of HR 40. And then from there, some of those cities advanced it to the next level and began to pass resolutions called Slavery Disclosure Acts. And in the Slavery Disclosure Acts, corporations, before they could do business with that city, had to disclose any affiliation that they might have had with the slave trade and enslavement period. And that evolved into creating reparations funds. If they did, they had to put money into a reparations fund. So those are some of the foundations. And now we're moving from that to creating reparations commissions in local cities and states. And so we're excited about that. I just want to let people know we just had our national convention, and COBRA just had our national convention. We will make the videos from that, a very powerful convention where we looked at epigenetic, transgenerational epigenetics and COVID-19, how it impacts us now. And we had a very strong session similar to this one on the electoral process and how we advance reparations in Congress, as well as locally in terms of states as well. You can find out more information about the NCOBRA Convention on our website at ncobraonline.org, ncobraonline.org. And there's also a very good document that all of the legislative and elected officials and even community activists need to be familiar with, which is called Laying the Foundation for Localizing HR 40, which was produced by Cam Howard, our national male co-chair of NCOBRA and leading visionary and thought leader in the reparations movement right now, but also the legislative commissioner of NCOBRA as well. Also would like to remind you that I host a Black Talk radio show because I know I'm not going to be able to get everything I would like to say out in this time. So you can follow me on the radio show on the first and third Mondays. The next show is going to be a very special show where we'll lift up the NCOBRA Convention, as well as Comrade World, as well as this day, August 15th, National Reparations Day. That's blacktalkradionetwork.com. So you can continue to follow us there as well. And
thank you, Brother Jamoke.
all right.
We appreciate you. And again, Brother Jamoke is a brother who has been in the reparations movement ever since I have ever known him and met him, and really drafted me into the movement. So we appreciate him. He used to spend a whole lot of time on Georgia State College of Law campus. Some folks thought he was a student over there. He was over there so tough. So thank you, Brother Jamoke. We appreciate you. And obviously, I'm a proud lifetime member in NCOBRA. I would like now to bring in one of our sister organizers who organized with us in the Atlanta chapter of NCOBRA, Sister Anana Harris-Paris. She's going to come in from Sister Care Alliance and bring us a prayer. Then we will have Sister Olaremi acknowledge the organizations and our panelists, and then we will start because Brother Charles Barron is on the road. Brother Barron is driving from an undisclosed location back to the NYC. And so we want to jump him in because we don't know how well his connection will go. And then we have all of our other legislators from across the country on now. So we have a full, powerful panel. So with that, Sister Anana, we're going to bring you in and then we're going to move.
Thank you. First, I want to ask Baba AK, Baba Akmila Umoja, for permission to speak and present this prayer.
You certainly do, my sister.
Thank you, Baba AK. I'm just so honored to have been asked to do this. My name is Anana Harris-Paris. I'm the founder of the Sister Care Alliance. We're an organization that promotes self-care as a form of social justice, and social justice is self-care. We're a network of women of African descent, above and underground connections to just help those who want to be able to take critical and regular care of themselves in a crisis or otherwise. When I was asked to offer a prayer, I had to think for a moment, and I had to ask my great grandmother, Beatrice Senegal Clues Harris McGee, for some help as an ancestor, because there was a time where she was pushed away from her spiritual leadership in her community because she was a Black woman. And it was difficult for her to pray for others publicly. It was hard for her. And I think it befitting that I humbled myself and did this in her name. So I'm gonna ask that however you get yourself situated to make a connection, whatever it is you need to do, whatever breaths you need to take, whatever you need to visualize, eyes open, eyes closed. I do ask that your posture be set in a way that allows for an optimal inflow of air, so that everything that's beautiful around you can come inside and sit with you during a discussion of such trauma, during a discussion of such brutality, during a discussion that has taught us how to be professional suppressors. We're going to need to take a breath for this prayer. so that we can find a strength that's greater than us, that connects us to that which is greater than us. Deep breath in. Let it out, please. In the name of the Creator of all that is good, loving, and progressive, we sit here and ask for the spirits of those who have chosen to be healed, the spirits of those who are here with us today, and that which you call the Creator for yourself, that it all settle into our cells, that our DNA be enriched with all that came before us. We pray that the words that come out of the mouths of these leaders, these speakers, are in line with that which is golden and beautiful and healing and righteous. We pray that their lives as leaders, as their words come out the mouth for us, that others are pouring into them. We pray that we walk away from this with exactly what we asked for, and that it will encourage and fuel this journey towards what is already ours, which is the repairing of our people. We ask that with every being and with every thought, we sit through this session as one, that whatever confusion, whatever ills, and whatever enemy tends to participate in our minds, or physically or virtually, that that enemy dissipate, that that enemy never surfaces. And we ask that the spirits of those who have not been given the right or the opportunity to have this free conversation about their own liberation, that they join us in spirit and that they feel our love and support. God, we know that whatever it is we cannot handle, you can. We understand that there is so much we cannot overcome alone. So we thank you and we pray and bless this gathering. Ashe, amen.
Ashe and amen. Thank you, Sister Nana. Again, strong work with Sister Nana in reparations when we used to be over in the building on the West End, where Sister Sandra Barnhill opened up that space from, at the time, it was Aid to Children with Imprisoned Mothers.
Yeah.
And we go in that space and do our reparations in Cobra meetings. So give thanks. Sister Olaremi, coming from Dallas, just recently helped convene the Reparations Summit that was held here at the Apex Museum. So known Sister Olaremi since our days in Philadelphia, some 20-something years ago. Still young, so I don't want to put the exact years on the sister. So Sister Olaremi, come on in, and if you could bring greetings, and then we'll go right into the panel from there.
Thank you, Molly. Can you hear me? Okay, so thank you guys. We definitely want to continue in the spirit of courage. I know that I'm just going to use the extension of Baba AK's blessing to continue to speak. We are definitely coming to you all in this national dialogue in the spirit of all of our ancestors, which we called out at the beginning. But my words and my introduction, I definitely want to invoke the spirit of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, because one of the things that he said, I think we should all continue to repeat is, you can kill one of us, but you can't kill us all. So in the spirit of togetherness, that's why we're coming together. I think this is a pinnacle moment in time in history for us to bring all these organizations and legislators together. We want to extend this conversation to all those people who are speaking on behalf of reparations for African descended people. That includes but is not limited to legislators, policymakers, attorneys, teachers, educators, professional sports people, folks in entertainment, daily, everyday folks. We want to make sure that this conversation is had by everyone, every family, anybody that is to benefit from reparations. This is not a conversation for the weak. We will continue the spirit of Marcus Garvey and fight for everything we have a right for in this country. And with that being said, I want to just speak and give thanks to those organizations who have taken the time today to come together to have this dialogue with the Black Men Lab. I definitely want to thank Molly Davis, a good friend of mine, for modestly 20 years, okay, because we have children who are 20 years old now. So I'm just going to tell you, Molly and I have been fighting for the rights for Black folks for a very long time, since we were in our 20s, and now y'all can do the math. I want to thank the organizations that have come together for this. The Atlanta chapter of NCOBRA, the Atlanta chapter of MXGM, the Georgia NAACP, Beacon Hill Black Alliance for Human Rights, the National Reparations Summit, which I am on the executive committee for, and definitely want to fight in that realm to continue. Form, Let Us Make Man, Black Men Lab, Davis Bozeman Law Firm, who's doing a bang up job there in Atlanta. Sankofa Church, the Partnership for Southern Equity, New Georgia Project, and Southwest Region of BLSA, excuse me, Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference, Organization for Human Rights and Democracy, the Southern Region of Black Law Students Association, the Sister Care Alliance, which you just heard Anana speak from. Anana is also a very long connected friend of mine. We've been also in that same space and fighting for our people for a very long time. The GSU, BLSA, and to the larger extent, all BSAs and all BLSAs all over the country, because we need everybody. The Black Male Voter Project and any other voter project out there in this nation, Working Families Party, New Georgia Project, the Partnership for Southern Equity. We have a lot of organizations that are coming together, and with this confluence of intellect, education, a fight power, there's no way we can go wrong. So all we're doing is connecting our organizations to the larger dialogue. And with that being said, we have some powerful legislators coming on today. I do want to introduce those individually, and I'm just going to turn it right back over to Brother Mawali. So with that being said, we have on the line with us today, City Councilman Mark Baker from the city of South Fulton, Georgia. We have State Representative Renita Shannon, District 84 in Georgia. We have Alderwoman Robin Simmons from Evanston Township. We have the City Commissioner Lisa Mayer from Decatur, Georgia. And then we have the Assemblyman Charles Barron, who I know is on the road from New York, and Alderman Roderick Sawyer from Chicago. Y'all, this is a lot of brain power. This is a lot of intellect. This is a lot of spirit. This is a lot of energy. And we need to make sure that we continue to have everybody speak as one, as Baba AK and others said. In the spirit of Marcus Garvey, we definitely need to recognize that there is no one reparation speaker. Again, you can kill one of us, but you can't kill us all. So if we teach our children this very valuable information, they too will carry on that discussion. So Brother Mawali, thank you so much for having me as part of this group, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Sister Olaremi. We appreciate it. We're ready to dive right in. I'm excited, looking forward to learning. We are going to start out with Brother Charles Barron, and Brother Barron is a long distance runner, long history of Black liberation work in New York and around the country. And just real grateful that he is able to join us from the vehicle. So hopefully we have some good audio. We got good visual, Brother Barron, but hopefully you have good audio on you. I'm going to start. If you can give us a good, strong 3 minutes, just in terms of why you think in this moment reparations is so important of an issue in this historic moment. So, Brother Barron, if you can come in, and then we're going to go from you to Alderman Robin Simmons. So, Brother Barron, you're muted. You got to unmute. There you go.
How about now? All right, great. Right on, everybody. I'm so excited about the times we're living in, because I always believe that the struggle may be long, but our victory is certain. We're going to win this, and this is the right time for reparations. But I always like to put reparations in the context of our larger struggle, because if we get reparations, and inevitably we will, and we don't have liberation and revolution, and then we'll still be on the American plantation without reparations. So we have to tie that to the larger struggle of dismantling this racist, parasitic, predatory capitalist system and its warmongering, imperialistic foreign policy. Racism, it's capitalism and domestic colonialism. In reparations in New York State, we are focusing on a community commission, which has 9 members of the community and only 5 of the state. I think how these commissions are comprised, or these task forces are comprised, are important. We have a majority, and by the way, and COBRA is one of the organizations that can appoint 3 members of the commission. The December 12th movement is another organization that can appoint 3 members. And then the Ron Daniels Institute of the Black World can appoint 3 members. And then there's 1 from the governor's office, 1 from the Assembly and one from the Senate. This commission will be charged with finding remedies for reparation. How much, what form, and who's eligible to receive it. And I'll leave all of the debates on that for the commission. I believe it should come in the form of land and cash, because we got to make sure we make the distinction between what we're currently fighting for within the system as taxpayers, so we can't have our enemy tell us what the reparations is. There's a hundred reparations proposals, and they can't tell us giving our kids scholarships is reparations, because that's something you should be doing to us, because what you're not doing with our taxpaying dollars. So we got to make that distinction between reparations, a debt owed for enslavement and Jim Crow and institutional racism, and what we're supposed to be getting currently from the system, like housing and education and healthcare. We paid for that already, and the reparations is a separate debt for that. So I'm excited. I won't take any more time. There's a lot of speakers. We have it in the Powerful Ways and Means Committee. I got it out of the Government Operations Committee. I have over 50 sponsors, and we're moving it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Barron. Thank you. You getting us jumped off. We appreciate you. Our sister from Evanston, please say hello to Lionel John Baptiste. He was my roommate we're in Durban. We went for the Durban 400 together, and he had to kick me out of the room because he said I snored too loud. Come on in, sister. We appreciate you. Appreciate your work. We're originally from Chicago, so Evanston is our family.
So thank you for including me. And I think the sister Anana left, but I need you all to know, if you didn't get this book, I'm recommending it. It's been my guide. I'm traveling with it actually right now. I'm in Tennessee. I'm blessed to celebrate my father's 70th birthday. So I hope that my internet connection is well. But now is the time. You know, so people ask often, why now? Well, we are not saying now is the time, right? We've been fighting for this time. We have already been here. But now that our nation and our allies are awakened, and even if it is in their guilt or their education or the emotions of what's happening today, they are awakened. And now we must be one voice pushing together boldly in the direction of reparations. And so I'm just excited to be a part of this movement. I only started pursuing reparations last year, early in February of 2019. And I was inexperienced enough to believe that a lot of good work and more diversity and inclusion and all of these types of committees and things that we do in government would be enough for us to get to the redress that we deserve. And I saw very soon into my elected office, I'm 3 years into my office, that anything less than reparation is an inadequate policy response to the issues, the trauma, the crimes against humanity that were established in Durban when you were there with Brother Lionel. Anything less than reparations is not good enough for our people. And that's where I'm at. I led with that. And I'm rallying my community. You know, we're working on reparations from a very, very hyper local level. My city is only 74,000 plus people. We have a declining Black population because of lack of affordability. We're being pushed out. There's no sense of place. And reparations was the most bold and radical policy piece that I could use within the infrastructure that we have to bridge the gaps. We have $46,000 divide in household income. We have an achievement gap, a wealth gap, a home ownership gap. Everything was actually not just being sustained, but it was widening while we were applauding our good work and our diversity. And so the diversity that we have in our city was really on the backs of the Black folks in the ward that I serve. I serve a predominantly Black community that was historically redlined. So in our case, our local reparations is mostly found in our housing policy, our zoning, and redlining. And I'm just excited to be a part of this movement. Like Brother Charles Barron, I believe in our victory, our collective victory. I'm excited to be partnered with so many others like Alderman Rod Sawyer, who's right there bordering us in Chicago. So grateful to, and Cobra, I'm proud I had to take a payment plan, but I paid for my lifetime membership. And I'm really just excited about what we're gonna do as a people. Now is the time. You know, in my life, I've never experienced anything like this, but I'm hearing even from the elders that this is a unique time in history, a window like no other, that we have to press hard and press united in one voice. And I'm excited to be here.
Man, sis, thank you. Thank you. You got me fired up. I just have to lift up Queen Njiri Algani's name, just in that spirit, that energy. So we're going to keep moving, y'all. As you can see, we have folks that have been doing the work. I started my day off writing and listening to Conrad Worrell and the gathering that they had in Chicago with Brother Sawyer. And it was just so uplifting to hear Baba Conrad, you know, again, you know, and I hear him in my spirit in the mornings, but it was just really, really powerful to see him working with Brother Sawyer. And I know Brother Sawyer's family. I'm originally from Chicago, so long history. So Brother Sawyer come in, and then we're gonna pivot and turn to our Georgia. Our Georgia legislators, starting with Renita Shannon, and then going to Brother Baker, and then to my sister here in the city of Decatur. And we're going to do some great stuff here, Commissioner Lisa Meyer. So Brother Sawyer, come on in, my brother.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it. And I want to just thank everybody for being here. Robin, I really want to thank you. You've been a leader in this. I'm also new to reparations. I really have to tell this story in my couple of minutes, since you mentioned Baba Conrad Worrell, who is somebody, even though I've known for about 40 years, the last couple of years we were working on, you know, he got me, and he and Cam talked to me several times about reparations. And I started to get really more involved. And this is kind of funny. We were, Cam and I were working with some others about our initial resolution we were preparing for the Chicago reparations movement, and we presented it to Brother Conrad. Conrad looked at it for a couple of minutes and literally threw it back at us. He said, "Rod, you're a lawyer. Come on, this is horrible. Come on, this is not what we're talking about." And he proceeded to give me a bunch of books to start reading and a lot of material. And we all went back and we redid it, and we got it to a point where he was extremely happy with what we were doing. But it was that putting in the work and getting the education that I was getting, since I was the newest person to this movement when I was dealing with it. And I learned so much in the documents that he gave me, and I will be forever grateful to Brother Conrad for his inspiration and education of me to discuss reparations. And I think that's one of the things we have to talk about, at least in Chicago, and I'm sure all over the country. Our brothers and sisters really don't know what this fight is all about. And I think that's something that we need to educate more people about. It's not just getting a check. And I'm not diminishing the debt owed to us, but there's so much more for us to do as people to break the chains. There's a debt owed to us socially, emotionally, healthcare. There's so many things that we need to be taking this opportunity to push forward on. And like you said, a lot of this stuff is stuff that they owe us already. That's not reparations. But we're still stuck in that slave mentality that I want us to break. And that's really I know that's part of an uncomfortable conversation, but we need to break that slave thinking. And that's when I got the documents, I really started liberating myself in how I talk and how I engage with people, even the words I use. It changed me. So I just want to leave that with everyone here. I know we have a lot of speakers here today, but I just could not leave without saying something to Brother Conrad Worrell. happy belated birthday to him, and you know, rest in power. He's an inspiration, and I'll again forever be grateful for his instruction to me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Brother Sawyer. We appreciate you. And they also are announcing at 12 Central Time his scholarship, his daughter, sister, Dr. Femi Worrell Skanes. So the struggle continues. And as Sister Olaremi raised up, they just can't kill us all, because we're going to live. The revolution and the struggle and the movement lives. So I want to bring a very powerful sister who is here in Georgia, who continually speaks truth to power, who just really busted up on the Georgia political scene, just like, you know, I'm here for the people. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to fight for the people and in the interest of the people. So that really pulled me closer to her in terms of just, you know, supporting that kind of radical, you know, and it's really not radical, it's just what's necessary. So Sister, our State Representative Renita Shannon, would you come in and just talk about your feelings about this moment for reparations, and particularly in Georgia, because we are in the deep, dirty South, y'all. So y'all up north, y'all in North Mississippi, and Georgia, we still down here in this red clay. So Sister Renita Shannon, come on in.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me to this panel today, and thank you all for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Black people built this country, and we continue to make it what it is today. And this country owes us, frankly. You know, I was very, when I heard Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley talk about how we don't need any more Black faces elected who don't want to be the face for Black issues, that really made me understand that she knew what it is to be elected and be fighting for Black issues, as I do every day. There is so much built into policy that is simply just built for those who have been able to vote the longest, frankly put. So that's white people, and with no thought or care about our communities. And so that's something that I consistently work against at the Capitol. There are systems being built to incarcerate our children, and these are things that I work against. There's so much work to be done for our communities, and you cannot be afraid to advocate for Black people loudly, directly, and in all the work that you do. And I'll keep it short because I know we got a lot of folks to get to, but I'll say this: anybody who knows my work and has worked with me understands and knows that I am willing to lose my seat every single day fighting for Black people.
Ashe, drop the mic on that. That's how we do it. You know, we're not fighting to maintain a position in an empire. We're fighting to dismantle an empire that oppresses us. Brother Baker, my good brother in the blackest city in America, the city of South Fulton, and my good fraternity brother. Come on in, good brother, Mark Baker.
Hello, everybody. I am deeply honored, you know, and humble to be asked to be a part of this. And I do represent the city of South Fulton, which is a baby city. We just became a city in 2017. And because we're 90% African American, and we're considered a large city of over 100,000 individuals, right next to Atlanta, everything that was once an unincorporated Fulton County, we're now considered the blackest city in America, according to the National League of Cities. So that's a designation that I uphold. I'm for as long as we can have it. I like to shout it. And I've been able to be as progressive as possible. I love what the sister said about, you know, the seat, because, you know, I've only been doing this for 3 years. I've been 2-term mayor pro tem, this just recently reelected as councilman. And in the last 3 years, I've been able to do a lot of radical, what people would consider radically honest, relevant legislation, from decriminalizing marijuana, banning the box on job applications for convicted felons, abolishing Columbus Day, still the first person in Georgia to do that, making $15 a minimum wage, and just during these past couple of months, while the momentum, as someone said earlier, is going on, I slipped in some stuff like making Juneteenth a holiday, and also 5G resolutions. Last month, I passed the Breonna Taylor law. Just a lot of stuff moving forward next month. I think actually our next council meeting next week, I have the 8 that can't on the agenda. So September will be when I bring forward my reparations legislation. And I reached out to the good brother, Davis, to kind of give me some information. And I'm looking to other people. I am originally from Chicago, so it really warms my heart to be, among so many people from back home. And the sister in Evanston, I'm aware of your work, and we've been, a couple of conferences together, and he exalted what you did towards the end of last year. So it means a lot to me, and I get my marching orders, I would say, from the work done by Dr. Claude Anderson. When he first talked about how Black people are systematically trapped in the lowest level of a real life Monopoly game. And I play Monopoly every New Year's with all of my brothers, and we come together, we get our 2 500s, our 2 100s, 250s, 620s, 5 5s, 5 10s, and 5 1s, and we play this Monopoly game serious. But the point of it is, I can't even imagine, like, I won't even leave my room without my money in my hand when we play in that game. And I can't even imagine what it would be like to not have my startup in playing that game, falling into situations of actually ultimately having 2 choices of going around that board, which is life for us, is metaphorically life for us as Black people, African descendants of slavery. We're sitting here and we have 2 choices ultimately, bankruptcy or jail. And that really, really hits home with me, and it kind of is part of the reason for the work that I do. So when asked why now, it's really one of those things that we have to strike while the iron is hot. As I said, a lot of things that I was able to just accomplish over the past 3 months. We brought up Juneteenth, some time ago, and it was scoffed at, but now, while this momentum is going forward, with the unfortunate deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, and, now enough is enough, and people can take these conversations that were once backroom conversations to the forefront and be taken seriously. So I just will end with what I've learned from Stevie Wonder during this time period, actually, by saying that a movement without action, is a movement that's not going anywhere, that's standing still. So I think that us as legislators, we have to go forward and not be afraid to lose our seats, standing for what we feel is right.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. And I'm so excited about introducing this next sister who we are in the same city, the city of Decatur. And it just sounded, as I listened to our older woman sister from Evanston, it sounds so similar. I just want us to really link, because we are a city that was historically much Blacker, and through gentrification, we have lost a lot of our elder citizens, and we are fighting for equity in education, policing, all of that. And so we were just real excited that this sister, when my wife was elected on the school board in this very same election, Commissioner Sister Lisa Meyer was elected and is just been championing the causes and fighting and amplifying the voice of the people. So Sister Lisa, come on in and bring us up as to what you think of this historic moment. And then we're going to circle back right after this to back to Brother Barron to really break down your legislation a little bit more in depth. So if all of you all who presented legislation, if you can talk about, after Sister Lisa comes in, where you're at in that legislation and what specifically the requests are, because we've got a lot of questions on Facebook. So we're doing some real heavy teaching, as Baba Conrad would say. We got to teach the people. You hear me? So come on in, sister.
Thank you. I am thrilled to be a part of this discussion today. And I'd like to just express a debt of gratitude to Sister Nana for that prayer. I'm wearing my great-grandmother's pin today, and the spirit of my great-grandfather who recently, my grandfather who recently passed, Dr. James Neely, is with me. He is the reason I am here today. He spent his entire career fighting for equity for Black people in healthcare. And I live in a community that appears from the outside to be completely picturesque. We have the best schools. We have lovely homes. We're a walkable community. The problem that we have is that we used to be a diverse community. And as time progresses, I've been in this community for 16 years. I've watched our Black population dwindle, and the beautiful and quaint homes that were owned by our Black senior residents are being raised and built with extraordinarily large homes that, while they are beautiful, they eliminate the ability for many people like me to live in this community because the cost of housing has grown exponentially over the past 20 years in this community. We have an incredible school system by numbers and on paper, but the Black students of the school do not get the same benefits that the white students of the school receive, nor do they receive the same treatment. And a very popular word to hear in this community is equity. There's a lot of talk about what we need to do to provide equity for our Black residents, for our Black children, but there's hardly ever any conversation about how we got to the point to where we need to fix this equity problem. And I personally am looking at my own family history and doing my own studying to try to understand how my family got to the point to be here today. And they have suffered such egregious pain that they won't even speak of their experiences. And so as we work to try to figure out how we implement plans for reparations of this suffering, it is very important for our allies who say they are willing to do the work with us to acknowledge the true and deep suffering that we have had in our community for generations. And it's also very important that when we talk about reparations or equity in education, we're not just talking about children, our children, my generation. We have to go back several generations to make sure that inequity is not continued because the youngest generations are obligated for bridging the gap for their previous generations. And so while we are here in Decatur, we need to make sure that while we have a very ally-rich community, that our allies are willing to do real, meaningful work and have the tough discussions to make sure that we implement changes that actually continue and go back so that we can actually stop these patterns of pain.
Thank you, my sister. We appreciate you. We're going to keep moving. You all, we've got about 40 minutes. And so we're going to move around really quickly and make sure we are able to get some of these questions answered. So one of them is what is the proposal, right? Because everybody says, what's the plan? What's the plan? Black folk don't have a plan. That's the the negativity that people put out there. But when you submit legislation, you're submitting a plan to some degree. And so, Brother Barron, can you break it down for us in a few minutes? What has been submitted, what the objective of the legislation is? Is it a study? Is it, explain it and just the thinking behind it and how we might adopt that in the state of Georgia as a strategy as well. Brother Barron, you're on mute still, Brother Barron.
How about now?
You good.
I want to say to my brother from South Fulton that my wife and I, we have purchased a home in South Fulton. So we are proud to be in the blackest city by percentage in South Fulton. Well, we've been meeting with people there, and I'm very, very happy of that. And New York City has the largest amount of Black people. So we got over 2 billion Black people, Africans in New York City, and the highest percentage of Black people, the city of South Fulton. Having said that, you know, the biggest challenge we're having right now in our strategy in New York, and just very quickly, New York City and New York State is humongous. It's one of the most powerful, richest cities and states in the world. Just think of this. We have 51 city council members, and the New York City's budget is $90 billion. And there's 2 million Black people, 2.3 million Latinos, and 1 million Asians. Whites are the minorities in New York City. New York State, I'm in the state assembly, we have 150 members of the state assembly and 63 members of the state senate with a $175 billion state budget. So while they're talking about Donald Trump and money and all of that, we got over $260 billion in New York State, and we got some of the highest poverty. So our strategy is to get and build a Black, radical, independent political movement and get Black radicals elected to the city council and the state assembly. Because right now, you know, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah wrote that excellent book, Neo-Colonialism, the Last Stage of Imperialism. We're suffering from neo-colonialism across the country. And that's Black faces in high places that have been created, manufactured, as Dr. King said, by the white power structure. So even in New York City, I have a senator who was on my bill. Now he wants to separate from my bill because we have a community commission. He wants it to be 5 representatives from the governor's office, 5 from the state assembly, and 5 from the Senate, and none from the community. So right now, our strategy is to get a movement from the bottom up. We've had rallies. Matter of fact, today, the December 12th movement at around 2, 3 o'clock, they're going to have a big rally on 59th Street and Columbus Circle, raising reparations, because it's going to come not just through litigation and legislation, but agitation in the street. So right now, I have 40 to 50 members of the assembly signed on to my bill. It's in the Ways and Means Committee. That's the last stop before it hits the floor. And my bill is saying we simply want a community commission, not a study. Keep your apology. We don't care about no apology, no studies. A community commission on remedies. And they have the charge of saying how much, what form, and who is eligible to receive it. And we're not getting into no discussion and debates about who's eligible to receive it. We'll leave that to the commission. And some people, even white liberals, will say, oh, we need to have a Marshall Plan for reparations. No, you don't tell us that. The commission will do that. So with the commission and our strategy, if we can tell people, make sure when you do commissions, or if you're going to do task force, make sure the majority members of that commission and task force is from the community. Because right now, it already has to come back to the state legislature anyway. So they don't need to have control on the front end and the back end. But reparations needs agitation, but revolution is the solution.
Thank you, my brother. We appreciate you. Come on in, our sister from Evanston, Robin.
Thank you. So like Brother Rod Sawyer, I've been in education mode for the last year, and really appreciate organizations like NARC and NCOBRA and how they've helped me understand what reparations is and how we must discuss and decide on remedies. So in my case, I introduced it to a committee. We have an Equity and Empowerment Commission. I introduced it there last year. I asked that we have a public process that included the community, the stakeholders, the Black communities of Evanston. And I asked 3 things over 2 public meetings. What is remedy? What should we do with the reparation fund? How might we fund reparation, and who qualifies? And so we took that information. It was dozens, maybe more recommendations from the residents on what reparations should be. We combined that and came up with an outline and later a list of priorities. It was passed in Equity and Empowerment Commission unanimously, recommended to the City Council, and it passed City Council on an 8-1 vote. So from there, we established a reparations subcommittee, which I chair along with 2 of my colleagues. And the 3 of us represent the highest concentration of Black residents in our ward. So we took the information from the community, which prioritized housing for us. I should probably stop and go back to how we decided to fund it. I had several ideas. I initially wanted to use a graduated real estate transfer tax. So homes and properties that were sold over $1 million, much of our wealth was stripped in housing, a tax from that, which we had already passed a year before. We had a new amusement tax at Northwestern, who has a large footprint in our city. There was talk about a reparation tax. There was discussion about just opting in if you want to participate in reparations. But at the same time, our state was passing a cannabis bill where we legalized cannabis. And so we were going to be, as a home rule municipality, embracing the state legislation. I had nothing to do with that, but we were embracing it. We were going to have dispensaries in our city, and we were going to be taxing it at 3%. And so based on the data that I received when I asked our staff to let me know, what is the policing data on cannabis in our city? And I found that 71% of the arrests in cannabis were of Black residents. And we have at this point now only 16% residents. So I felt absolutely justified. Not that I was had any sort of leadership with cannabis and it passing at a state level, but I absolutely was not going to be okay with the revenue from that industry going to anything other than the uplift of the Black community based on the damages that were done. So with that, we had an opportunity and a window and a need to fund reparation. And it was my recommendation that we advance funding reparations with the sales tax from cannabis. And we passed the first $10 million of cannabis sales tax will fund reparation. Of course, the goal is that we expand that, but we can at least start the work with $10 million. And so that's what we have restricted today. In addition, we have a reparation fund that is accepting contributions from families, foundations, anyone that wants to participate. So I've introduced to the community, this is a participatory opportunity. If you support reparations, guess what? You can share some of the wealth that you inherited that was passed down from generations of your families that enslaved our ancestors. You can participate too. And so we did start getting funds after George Floyd's murder, and we hope to get more. So right now we have a subcommittee that is informed by the residents, but to institutionalize this work, because it's important that this work outlives my leadership, any trends, whatever, budgetary priorities we have. And we have introduced a reparations stakeholder authority, which is made up of community stakeholders, members from the community, exclusively Black people that have lived experience in Evanston and can speak to the damages and the trauma and remedy. So it is a mix of historically Black institutions in our city, as well as leaders in our city, as well as leaders, and a leader could be on your block or in your household, but it is going to be Black folks exclusively that discuss remedy. And the goal is with a new fund that is being established at our local community foundation until we can get 501c3 status, and it be a separate entity that is controlled and operated by Black people. It will be in partnership with the community foundation and they will be just the fiscal agent. And that will allow more nimble opportunities for redress. We have a goal that Black residents can write proposals on what reparations is for them. And so that's where we're at. We're doing the work. We look to pass our first remedy policy the 28th of this month in our subcommittee. It'll have to go on to City Council. The money comes in over the fiscal cycle because it's tax revenue. So the first chunk of money we have set aside for $25,000 direct benefits to Black home buyers, $25,000 direct benefit to Black homeowners for repair and anything that builds wealth. So we're looking at home ownership as a way to build wealth. And that's what we're doing in Evanston. And all of this is absolutely still in support of HR 40, understanding it's not enough, but I was just not okay not doing something radically different than we had done in the past. And that's where we're at in Evanston.
Thank you, sister. Thank you for laying that out. That's the level of detail that we are needed and are looking for. I know the reparations summit that gathered in Atlanta last weekend, they have a public policy piece. I think folks are trying to really shape something out and hopefully be able to present it for this presidential candidacy so that we can get folks to commit to a broad reparations comprehensive package to really invigorate some of these young people who are not seemingly excited about the ticket. So thank you, sis. Brother Sawyer, if you can break down what we doing in Chi-Town.
Thank you. Chicago was a particularly difficult, quite honestly, proposition. I honestly got into this thinking this was going to be easy. It was going to sell 50 to nothing. But quite honestly, from the time I introduced the reparations resolution to the time it passed, 9 months had elapsed. That's something that's probably worthy of another conversation. But I thought it was going to happen right away. It was an easy lift. But quite honestly, I got pushback, not just from white people, but from Black colleagues and others that were not understanding about what it really is. I mean, people kept asking me about the cost, and I think that was just a non-starter to me. We shouldn't be worrying about the cost. Although we know that Chicago as a municipality could not pay for everything that we deserve. Now let's start with that though. Do we deserve it? Of course we do. We figure out how to pay for everything else in the world. We've had this pandemic, we paid for it. We've paid for, in Chicago, you've seen looting and rioting, but we find ways to pay for added manpower and police. But, I don't think that's a legitimate question on how we pay for it. We will find a way to do it. What we want to find out on the local level is, what do we do? So I was happy to, we ended up coming to somewhat of a compromise, and I actually, people did not understand it, but I've been involved in politics a long time, and sometimes you have to do things that may not look like you're working with the people, but it was very much so a community-driven process. So what we did was establish a subcommittee. In my committee, I happen to chair the Health and Human Relations Committee for the City of Chicago. So we established a subcommittee there, a reparations committee. And with the help of Cobra and Cam Howard, we're putting together a community board. Cobra is now currently working with Buffy to work on us having a fiscal agent so that we can raise our own funds. And now we're going to start talking about what we need to do and why it's important for reparations to happen on a local level, while we're still continuing to support HR 40. But what do we do locally to do something? We cannot sit idly by and just continue to wait for HR 40. We have to be advocates for that, but at the same time, do something on a hyper local level, like Sister Robin was saying earlier. We want to make sure that we continue to do something. We're working on the process. Matter of fact, I might be looking more at your resolutions, Robin. So I might be stealing some of your stuff from you, and consider it a compliment of what you're doing in Evanston. But we've been talking about it already, and we're going through that process now. We just had the subcommittee formed, and we're going forward with remedies and remedies only. Thank you.
Let me ask this question really quickly to
Sure.
you and Sister Robin. How much of an impact was the Illinois Transatlantic Slave Trade Commission, that work that was done? Has that been utilized as a part of what you all are doing? Because we're trying to, I guess, from a Georgia standpoint, we haven't had any study commission, right? And so we're wondering, do we need to do study commission, or can we go right to where Sister Robin went with this, or where you are, Brother Sawyer? So I just wanted for you all to address that, because Brother Barron, what he presented, obviously, we don't have no need for no more studying. No apologies. Let's just get to it. So I'm just wondering about where you all are with that.
Well, personally, I use that as a study guide. That's my study guide. I use that. That's why one of the first things that Conrad gave me was the books from the Illinois Atlantic Slave Trade Commission, and I started reading them, and I started learning more and more about. And what I want to do is help impart that knowledge to the masses, because people don't even know we had that done in Illinois. And what I would suggest, brother, is to use that as a guideline. If there's some questions about what you should do, or some backstories about people needing to educate themselves, it's already done. It's there. We can use the Illinois version. I know there's been other studies nationally that I received from Conrad. All the studies, we've studied it to death. The studies have all been done. I think there's a path there that we need to just start following. But I will say that it is enlightening and educational for those, whether it's the Illinois version or some of the national or international items that have been out over the last many years. I'd suggest people to read them, study them, and then let's go forward from there.
So I actually I was really far along in my process before I started to get my education. So I was working way too hard and way too much in a silo, working alone, just using our data and just a little bit of intellect that said that anything that is not a direct redress to this problem is not going to be enough. So I didn't know. But what we did have was in 2002, now Judge Lionel Jean Baptiste, he was an alderman, and he had passed a reparation resolution after he came back from Durban, and it was in solidarity with HR 40. And so I used that as a reference and a guide to why we should advance this. We made this commitment in 2002. We still have these disparities and these gaps. The initial recommendation came from my commission with our city manager to do a feasibility statement on reparations. And so at the dais, I amended that. Like, we don't need a feasibility statement. We have the data. And so I think at this point, like everyone on the call is saying, the study bill, what more do we need to study, and what more information do we need? The data is there. We can pull it all together. And so I would just recommend pulling together the data to show the disparities, along with your city's policy and history and culture that's all documented. A very important partner of mine we have a Black History Museum, a brother who himself has established a archives of Black history here in town. So what I couldn't get from my clerk's office, who was also very helpful, I was able to get from Shorefront Legacy Museum to build the case for reparations, and then advance with identifying remedy and identifying funds. And for me, based on the city that we have and the amount of wealth that's there, we have countless folks that write $1 million checks to nonprofits and billionaires. If it was anything less than a commitment of dollars, I didn't feel like I would have the real commitment of the community and of the council. So it was important that we led with remedy recommendations and dollars and the references of our historic policy.
Thank you, sister. Thank you, brother. We appreciate the clarification. Want to bring Representative Shannon in just to see where do you think we can go, and where have we gone? What have those discussions been? I think I may have even had some communication with State Senator Nakima Williams about maybe introducing something, and so I'm just wondering where can we go with this, because as Dr. Akinyele Umoja just raised, is that there is a established Holocaust Commission that we have long wanted to model something similar after, as it relates to the enslavement of African people in Georgia, and the acknowledgement and really framing what happened and what we experienced and what we've gone through and how it built Georgia specifically. So just want to invite you in to share your thoughts and any progress we may have in that right.
So those who know my work know that I'm not very interested in symbolic legislation. I like to get down to the bottom line and just have an impact directly. And so similar to what Alderman Robin just said about moving forward and not wasting all this time studying what we know we already need, I have not sponsored anything that has been a big cumulative collaborative package for reparations. So what I've done is start to attack different parts of what we know we need as a part of an overall reparations package. So first I want to talk about a recent win that we had just this year that we definitely need the public's help in keeping it as a part of what we know we need for our community. Maternal mortality, if you're not familiar with it, is where Black women, well, it's when a woman dies during childbirth or in complications from childbirth up to a year after giving birth. And Black women are actually disproportionately impacted. We are 3 to 4 times more likely to die through complications from carrying a pregnancy. And that's the case for the majority of the country, but Georgia is one of the worst. So I started working in 2019 to get the state to expand Medicaid for new mothers, knowing that this would have a huge impact on reducing the deaths and hopefully eliminating the deaths of Black women who are simply trying to carry and deliver safe pregnancies. And so I'm happy to report that this year we were able to get the state of Georgia to take it from 60 days, which is where you would typically get cut off. What was happening was Black women in Georgia, you could literally have a baby, and then 60 days after you've given birth, you would be kicked off of Medicaid and the child could still be on Medicaid. So it was a clear situation where Black women were not being cared for. And a lot of the issue of why Black women were dying, in addition to racial bias in healthcare, was just simply about access to healthcare. So now we're at a point where I sponsored legislation in 2019 and then worked with community groups in collaboration, because progressives are in the minority in Georgia and you have to figure out unique ways to get things done, but you have to stay focused. We were able to get the state to expand Medicaid for new mothers up to 6 months. That is a budget item, and it is something that we will have to fight for every year, because we all know that sometimes people will sometimes our opponents will allow things to happen that will help our communities because it's an election year and it's not something that they actually care about. So that's one piece that we need the public to continue to support and make sure that that stays as a budget item, because that was built for Black women and built about the healthcare of Black women. And that's a win we just had. The second thing is, since I was elected, even when I was running, I made no secret about being out here for Black issues. And I have talked a lot about police accountability issues. When we have had slayings in DeKalb and in the metro area and really anywhere in the state, I have been out front calling for police officers to be accountable and pushing that what we want at the end of the day is for police officers to stop killing Black people. We see that they are able to take in young white men who have killed lots of people. They know that before they even get to the scene. And these folks are taken in without incident, sometimes even given a meal on the way to jail. And for us, we are never even seeing the inside of courtrooms. And it's just, they're making different decisions in our community. So this is something I've talked a lot about, and I've sponsored bills to move forward and advance police accountability. And so Molly and I have worked on one bill, House Bill 636, which would set up a database and provide public accountability for the use of force that is being used on individuals and police come in contact. And I do have plans. We are hoping that there will be a shift in power this next year in the Georgia House of Representatives where I serve. I am in the process of setting up a task force to get ready to move a lot more bills on this issue of police accountability and breaking down our criminal justice system.
Thank you, sister. We appreciate you. We appreciate that work. And I do want to raise up those of you all who haven't been following the news. We had a week ago, yesterday, another police shooting in Georgia where Julian Lewis was shot in the face by a Georgia State Patrol officer. So if we could lift up his name, his family, Julian Lewis, down in Sylvania, in Georgia, so in Southeast Georgia. So our firm, along with Francis Johnson, we're working on that. The trooper has been arrested, and that is a direct result of the pressure that our young people have been putting on this system, right? The system is no longer able to just do what it had been doing without any accountability. So we're gonna keep up that fight. Brother Baker looks like he may have dropped off. Let's go. Sister Meyer, Lisa, you want to come in and share any thoughts you might have about introducing legislation, and then we're going to come back to Brother Barron after that and just talk about our community challenge. You know, challenging our community to help do the work and the role that we see community playing. What can we do in the next 30, 60, 90 days as community to push forward this work? So Sister Lisa, then we come to you, Brother Barron, and we'll move it around. And that will be the final question. So we're rolling in, getting all kinds of engagement, a lot of questions being asked. And just for those that are watching, this is not our final. So you don't have to feel like if you didn't get your question answered, we're going to collect up the questions. We will be doing a Reparations 101. I think shooting for 2 weeks from now. So we got Baba AK and Brother Jamoke, and then we'll have some sister balance. So we can have people who have been historians in this work and activists in this work to give us a Reparations 101 in about 2 weeks from now, so we can get that in place. So with that, Sister Meyer.
Well, thank you. I too am in education mode right now. And I also have concerns about studies and the length of time that these quote unquote studies take, and the stalling that occurs when we say that we want to study something. In our small municipality, that is the MO here. We study things to death and very rarely implement actual legislation or policy that is effective. And one example of that is with affordable housing in this community. We have had a multitude of studies and task force, and as years have progressed, the only thing that we have implemented this year, and this is my first year in office, my first term, is an affordable housing ordinance, a mandatory inclusionary zoning ordinance that was not nearly as strong as it needed to be. And I think that the temperature in this community is that affordable housing for renters is well within the appetite of what we're willing to do. Affordable housing in terms of home ownership for Black people, especially in this community where the average home price is in the 600,000s, makes them incredibly uncomfortable because there is some supplementing that we would have to do to allow members of the Black community to be able to be homeowners in this community. And quite frankly, home ownership is the only way that we can really bridge that wealth gap between our Black residents and our white residents. And the renting concept, although I appreciate the fact that we have affordable rental units that will be coming to Decatur very soon, is almost a pacifying regard. So it's very important to me to continue to fight for policy change within our city that will allow and support home ownership, specifically Black home ownership, to make up for the loss of Black home ownership that we have experienced at such a drastic and dramatic pace over the past 20 years. And it's also very important to recognize that while we do have a community policing model here in Decatur, we have to be very careful to understand how that community policing is implemented in terms of equity, because we can say that we have a community policing model all day, but what I'd like to see is data that actually supports that that community policing model is being supported equitably. And then finally, Black business ownership is not very common in our community, and the supporting of Black businesses has been less common. And so while I would like to see policy in place that helps to support the increase of Black business ownership in the city of Decatur, specifically downtown Decatur, where the income opportunities are a bit more lucrative, I'd also like to see something in place to help support and sustain those Black businesses once they're open. So rather than just throwing them out there and wishing them the best of luck, we need some sort of system in place that helps to eliminate all of the previous systemic issues that have prevented the success of Black-owned businesses so that those businesses can thrive once opened.
Thank you, sister. We appreciate you. And we want to bring in, I see you back, City Commissioner Baker. Come on back in, brother, before we go to Brother Barron, and we're going to close out. But Brother Baker, you are contemplating dropping some legislation in city of South Fulton in September. Can you talk a little bit about that and the objective of it? We got you on, you're on mute. Yep.
Okay, am I good now?
Good.
Yeah, well, I'm not contemplating it. It's already going through the process right now. And it's going to require a lot of diligent work from your good friend, our city manager, Odie Donald. So I'm going to be, as I've been listening and taking notes, I'm going to be doing, as I would like to call it, some righteous stealing from back home in Chicago and in Evanston. But as of right now, my legislation has components that to create a commission in an upcoming year to propose pathways for reparations through policies, initiatives, fundings, and short/long-term solutions at reversing damage in South Fulton caused by systemic racism from the state of Georgia, given that we're a new city. And someone mentioned earlier that, it's always a push for disparity studies. And given that we are in the state of Georgia and things move a little bit different, this is the best way that myself and our city attorney, Amelia Walker, felt to move forward in doing that, with that commission being established, as well as directing our city manager to join the city in Government Alliance for Racial Equity in NCOBRA. So Odie would become a member of those two organizations, just in an effort to eradicate the systematic disparities in the city, as well as like when we did the 5G resolution towards the federal government a couple months ago. We're gonna the biggest plan is to have a push federally where our legislation would reach out on a federal level, demanding policies be created in forms of reparations to our municipalities. So I do look for, I know we got to wrap, but I know that towards the end there was an ask, and I'm going to need you this time to come and speak, because sometimes even though we are the blackest city in America, is one of those things that we have that designation, but at times this concept, as a framework, more so it needs a component more so like an educational campaign to a lot of people, A lot of people do well in the city of South Fulton. So, I would need assistance, because it becomes challenging sometimes fighting my people to fight for my people. So I would really appreciate help, moving forward when it comes to these meetings, especially given that they're done via Zoom now.
Right.
So it would be helpful to have people attend that meeting and speak, be a part of the comment, to move forward with those 7 individuals that I work with.
Thank you, brother. We appreciate you. And I see Brother Jamoke, Baba AK, nodding their head. These are, we do curriculums and reparations one-on-one. So it might be really, really powerful if our next one in 2 weeks, we could even broadcast through City of South Fulton as well. That City of South Fulton can promulgate it so that the citizens can get educated. And maybe we can do that through City of Decatur and just our different mechanisms so that we can ensure a wider audience, and even DeKalb County TV to do a reparations one-on-one with some of the experts and walk through this. So that I think is necessary. And it's again, we're at different places clearly based on what we're hearing kind of from the Midwest and the North versus where we are in the South. And strategies, we know that strategies are dependent on your locale, where you are, what might work and what doesn't work. So with that, we're going to get ready to close out, y'all. It is, oh, wow, it's 12:27. So if we could do 2-minute wrap up, a 2-minute wrap up, each of you about community engagement and support and what you feel is necessary. So since we have so many community members watching, and then we're going to come back for a 1-minute wrap up with really not a wrap up, but 1 minute with Olaremi and Brother Jamoke, Baba AK, and Anana, so that people who are interested in plugging into the work in Georgia and around the country with these organizations that have been doing the work, y'all can do that. So if my math is correct, we should be done, y'all, in 15 minutes. Just hang in there with us a little bit longer. We know if y'all was watching the overtime basketball game, y'all wouldn't be moving. So just stay with us. Don't jump off. The NBA doesn't come on until 2:30. So we good. Because they talking about Black Lives Matter in the NBA. And that's y'all work. That's the people on this call. Because of the work that you all have been doing over the years, you've laid the foundation for all of these corporations to talk about Black Lives Matter. Now we got to make them pay. Brother Barron, come forward and give us your 2 minutes.
He got to unmute.
Okay.
Gotta unmute you. Not yet.
How about now?
You good now?
I was saying this has been a great session, and we really gotta educate our people, raise their mind and understanding to reparations. Steve Biko said it best: the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. And I think that we got to really work that. So I want to caution us, though, as we move forward and make this battle and find out what is, how much. Just remember this: there have been people who already calculated that stuff already. I know Omali Yeshiteli and the African People's Socialist Party in 1982, right in Brooklyn, they had an international session on reparations and calculated it to be 4.2 trillion. Way back when Tunis Campbell, after 1865, when so-called slavery was abolished, he was given land in the Sea Islands, and they took that land back. So some people calculated that land to now would be 6.2 trillion. And then you had Callie House in 1898. She said, just give us our pension. We only want the wages, just the pension. And we can calculate stuff like that. Queen Mother Moore, this stuff has been done. So we can set these commissions up, not to study, but to calculate and determine how much. And the community should be wise and giving information on this so we don't get involved in these idle debates on who should get it, how much, and all of that. Let the commissions bring in all those who are experts in the field of economics and all of that can determine that. And then finally, we in New York, I fought for and we was able to secure $100 million toward a not-for-profit affordable housing program where a lot can go to Black not-for-profits. We've secured Black developers getting hundreds of millions of dollars to develop affordable housing as we determine affordable housing in our communities. My wife, who's the city council member and chair of the Higher Education Committee, whom I once was when I was in the city council, we just secured over $50 million for scholarships for Black students. None of that is reparations. None of that is reparations. And if they pass a marijuana law, which we didn't last year, probably will next year, and those proceeds are going to come to the Black community because of their war on Black youth, that won't be reparations. That's what you have to do for the current issues, for the current taxes that we're paying. And reparations is a debt owed in addition to all of that. In healthcare, we want a single payer healthcare system, and we want healthcare in the Black community to increase in Medicaid and Medicare and all of that. That's not reparations. So we're saying to the New York community, we got to rise up from the bottom up. The only reason why they're talking about reparations now is because of the protests in the street. Governor Cuomo, he said, we want to make Juneteenth a holiday. We didn't even ask him for that. And we're glad we got it, but we didn't ask him for that. You can't tell us that's what we should get out of our protest. So I just want to caution us, don't let them give you some other stuff that they're supposed to be giving you for the current condition and call it reparations. Don't let them get away with that. And my brother from South Fulton, I'm glad you did that Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm trying to get that passed in New York. And you did a great job also with the minimum wage and all of that stuff. But see, these are not reparations issues. These are justice issues for now. And we got to make that very, very clear. But wherever you get and whatever you get in your area, right on. Because I may have to do it one way in New York, and my brother might have to do it differently in South Fulton, and somebody else in Chicago. But we should fight that good fight. Reparations is a solution, but revolution is the ultimate solution, and we should never forget that.
Ashe, we appreciate you. You know, the ancestors are working with us because this brother has driven all the way from an undisclosed location on his way back to New York, and he is to maintain his connection. And
yeah.
no, that's how we know we're on the right side of history, as my man Jerry would tell us all the time around reparations. We're on the right side of history. So thank you, Brother Barron. We'll come to our sister Robin in Evanston.
Yes, the question was community outreach. And so with that, I will say that like others in the meeting on the panel, we had been doing outreach. We, passed inclusionary housing zoning. We have done the Truth and Reconciliation talks. We had many proclamations in the name of the collective Black uplift, Black lives. And I asked for a report. We had hundreds, in fact. And it was one resolution in particular that I use as evidence. It was a resolution to end structural racism. And it listed out, all these commitments and things that we would do, but there was no action plan. So I used that resolution as a response and action plan to what we said we valued in that resolution. So I would consider educating your community on the commitments that you've already stated, the values that were in your council and your commission, sharing those documents and reminding them of what those goals and commitments were and showing them the data and the outcomes that just are not there. And then moving and advancing some action plans at this point. For us, because I knew I was being educated, I knew for sure I needed to educate my community and my colleagues on city council. So thankfully, NARC, and with the leadership of Dr. Ron Daniels, came to our city and they supported us with a town hall meeting. The NARC commissioners were there, Attorney Nkechi Taifa, Cam Howard, Dr. Iva Carruthers, Judge Lionel Jean-Baptiste, Danny Glover, and they came and did a intensive 2-hour town hall. And I would recommend that you even consider some grand event of education like that, just to really make a statement and get the people's attention. And then you can start to dig deeper once all that is gone, and you can dig deeper. And so what we did was we put together a reparation discussion guide. It's on our website. You can go to cityofelvanston.org/reparation. And we have a reparation discussion guide, all of the tools, many of the references that I use to get educated, and households, churches, businesses, Black clubs, they all can become educated together, lead themselves through a productive discussion, and even share their feedback with us on the committee. So I would just recommend that you consider some sort of participatory way to keep the conversation going with the entire community. And you can check out our guides that are on the website. We also have our town hall. We had a town hall with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, and we have all those tools that are available for public viewing at any time. And then it's important, and it must be led by the community. So at any point that the community is not involved, you're going in the wrong direction, because a community has to be the voice that leads and guides this work. They have to be the ones to determine the remedy. And that's what we've been doing at Evanston.
Thank you, sister. And I just want to just add on, when we say community and what sister's saying, this has to be a Black-led effort, y'all. And I just want to be clear about that. We have some powerful, beautiful, strong white allies that rock with us. Y'all gonna have to keep rocking with us, but we have to lead this work. You cannot frame it. You cannot advance it. You have to follow our leadership. We have been the one that have been injured. Our ancestors enslaved and impacted. So don't get out in front of Black folk who have been doing this work, who are trying to continue to do this work, and just come and support and then pour in once we've framed it. So I just wanted to add that piece on. Thank you, sister. I'm shouting.
So I have to say this, and this, I'm sorry, I know my time is up, but this is the single most important document for those that are doing local reparations. Cam Howard, that brother has put it all in a pretty pamphlet. It's called Laying the Foundation for Local Reparation. It's an Cobra document. I'll try to figure out how to put it in the chat. You can actually get it off Amazon, and I think it's on Cobra's website as well. But he gives 3 different examples of how you can do local repair. He talks about full repair, which is so important. We didn't have time to get in that today, but I just needed to shout that out, and I'll try to figure out how to get it in the chat.
Oh, Brother Jamoke gonna get us on it. He sent me the email, but go ahead and put it in the chat. But this is powerful, and I'm glad you. This time is our time, so you can't run over until they kick us off, and they haven't found how to kick us off yet. Brother Sawyer, come on, brother.
Oh, thank you. I don't know much more I can say about these wonderful brothers and sisters that came before me. I agree with everything they said. I join in that effort. Education is truly key in what we do here as we move forward in this next phase of reparations. I think that we still have a lot of work to do to let people know why this is important to us, to all of us. I think that people just, when I talk to people and they, hey, you're the guy that's doing the reparations thing. Their first thing, when am I getting my check? I think, okay, well, that's, we're gonna work on that. But, my concern is if you got a check, what you gonna do with it? How you gonna spend it? Sometimes the worst thing we can do is give Black folks a check now without educating ourselves, because the people that are gonna be beneficiaries are the white folks. Mercedes-Benz, Gucci, Louis Vuitton. We don't want that. We want to make sure that it's a real effort. And I know that might be a little uncomfortable to talk about, but that's why I want us to have a real educational effort on why it's important for us on full repair. You know, we always talk about the dead old, but we have to also talk about the repair that's necessary. That's why Cam educates me about why it's important to talk about the repair inside of us, so that we will think the right way once we do get the remuneration and the compensation that we deserve. We'll use it the right way. So I join in everyone's effort. I want to make sure that I'm a part of the continuing conversation. Reparations now, it's not an either or. It has to happen now. It has to happen for us, but it has to happen through us. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Ashe, thank you, my brother. State Rep Renita Shannon, you jump in and give us some closing remarks and a charge for the community.
Sure. My final message is to the public. If you're watching this, obviously you do care about reparations and you know that this is something that we need. Please broaden the information or discuss and educate your family and your friends and those around you on this topic, because there is so much anti-Blackness in this country, and sometimes it does come from our own community. Just not necessarily that certain folks don't think that we need it, but a lot of times people feel like it's not attainable, and that does hurt us in the fight. So please lay down the foundation with your friends and family about reparations, and make sure and continue to support all that we're doing.
Thank you. And that reminds me, Mama Njiri used to tell us, she used to say, if you can't support us, just be neutral. Just be neutral. That was
just be quiet. Yeah, just be quiet. If you, yes.
Just chill.
Thank you.
Happen, just be quiet. It's okay.
Yes.
You don't have to believe. There were Negroes who didn't believe that folks would get free. They didn't believe that we would do certain things. There've always been folks who didn't believe. Just chill. Yes. Those of us who believe that the ancestors put us in us to do this work, let us do our work without getting in the way. Just stay out the way. Stay out the way, as the young people say. Y'all got me fired up, man, and the day is just getting started. Let me go to Brother Baker, just so you can give us a couple closing remarks. Then we'll close with Sister Meyer, and then get to our community folks so that they can let everybody know. And I know, folks, we see all your questions. So let me tell y'all how we're gonna do this. We're coming back in 2 weeks. We're also going to take your questions. We're going to get them typed out, and we will get responses posted on Black Men Lab's website and COBRA's website. We now have the National Reparations Summit's website. If we can get MXGM, if we can get Sister Care Alliance. So all of the organizations that are co-sponsors will receive a copy of the responses to all the questions. We're going to email them to our participants so they have time to type them out, and you'll be able to see question. Here's the response to the question by whichever of the panelists, have an answer or choose to answer, and then we're going to publish that back out, y'all. So your questions are not being ignored. We got everything recorded. All right. All right, Brother Baker.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks. Thanks just for the opportunity to learn more, to gather more. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. That feels good. And when we talk about reparations now, this is the time. And, we've been saying it's the time for some time. I've been marching from the Million Man March to Genesis all the way up to now. And it's so crazy. Like, we've been talking about the time, but this is legitimately the time. We're going through reconstruction right now, if you will, in this country. And, our voices are being heard, we're being amplified. And I just need and request that anybody from South Fulton, or not even from South Fulton, across the country, in Chicago, in New York, that's a part of this call, chime in. We allow public comment. And since we've been doing virtual meetings, we've probably had 2 comments. So when this comes up in about a month from now, I just need support, need people to actually make it seem as if, don't allow me to seem as if I'm the only radical person. Again, I'm up with 7 other people, who are African descendants of slavery. And we're dealing with this situation. But some of us at times, to be radically honest, we break our arms to pat ourselves on the back. And again, given that I'm in this situation where we have a higher median income than the city of Atlanta, higher education and all of this stuff. A lot of people work in Atlanta, but they live in the city of South Fulton, and they're not necessarily on board, and they're not necessarily that radical. So, you know, a lot of this conversation would be seemingly taboo, but it needs to be amplified. And I ask that you guys join us or join myself in trying to bring this forward next month.
We with you, brother. We understand that it is. We have within our community, we have a class struggle as well. Some of us are eating so good that there is no need for, we've lost contact with the need to struggle on behalf of our brothers and sisters who don't have all this education and you know, these 2 cars and a house at the lake and all of that. So I hear you, bro.
But if you allow me to be more direct, City of South Fulton GA.gov. You have all of my colleagues' email address. Send an email. That would be helpful too. You know, to let them feel that this is something that they should support. I mean, Tupac said it best: the powers and the people in politics we're addressing. We're here right now, and it's the time to make it happen. Thanks so much.
Quoting one of our new African hip hop geniuses.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Sister Lisa Meyer, you got the last word for our elected officials. Then we're gonna close out with community. We're gonna close the way we started with community folk. And just go ahead.
Well, I am from the beautiful state of Mississippi originally. And where I come from, there's a lot of safety, or we are taught that there's a lot of safety in keeping your mouth shut and your head down. And so now is not the time for us to keep our mouths shut or our head down. And I have not had a single conversation with any of my fellow commissioners or with any members of my community about reparations, and that's on me. So I take ownership of that, and I take ownership of the fact that I have not been appropriately or properly educated on reparations and what that truly means to us in 2020. So I am fully committing to becoming more educated so that I can provide meaningful education and guidance in our community and have discussions that really matter.
Man, appreciate you, sis. But here's the beauty of it, is that when I sent the invite, you weren't like, you know, nah, you were like, yeah, put me in. And so that's what we need, is that we know that we just have folks, you know, in our spirit, right? You talked about your grandfather who recently passed. He was a physician in Mississippi, could perform a surgery and not vote. You know, like fathom that, right? But those are your roots, and so deep in your roots and your spirit, this reparations call is there, and that's what's so powerful about the movement, is that there's a spirit to it. So I want to start with our close out with brother Jamoke from Cobra. If you can get everybody the information about how to connect with Cobra locally, how they can follow up with you. The world is watching. Now is the time. And I'll tell you, I've watched Brother Jamoke be, I believe, one of the most consistent reparation advocates in this country. He's a reparations strategic planner, thinker, organizer, and he has been very, very consistent, just never letting it go. And always maintaining and really, to be quite honestly, keeping me engaged when I was been focused on police brutality and other issues. He's always tied it all back together. And so we appreciate you, Brother Jamoke, for your lifelong commitment to this sacred work. And we just ask, how can people connect with you, connect with Cobra, and get engaged with your work? And if you could give it to us in 90 seconds. I'm giving you more than a minute. I'm giving you 90 seconds, brother. You muted. See, you just lost 10 seconds, man, being muted.
I was laughing not at the 90 seconds, maybe that too, but I was also laughing at Alana put in there that I'm also an excellent dancer in the chat room. So yes, and really I just want to thank everybody who's on this call. All of the local Georgia people, please feel free to call me at any time. I put my information in the chat. I'll put it out there again. I love to talk about reparations, give guidance, education on reparations at any time. I'm available for that. My personal email is reparationsj. That's reparationsj@gmail.com. As I put it in the chat earlier, my direct phone number is 678-437-7882. You know, in Cobra, we open. We work with all organizations and individuals, and actually, you know, we always try to encourage people to understand that Cobra is a coalition. So those people who represent an organization who are listening, you can come into Cobra as an organization. You can keep your organization identity and still work within Cobra as a coalition, moving reparations forward. And so that's so important to understand, you know, that we got so many people out there now talking about reparations. I said I wasn't gonna go there. So many people talk about reparations. We really encourage people to consider linking up with Cobra and getting some guidance and working with us so that we can move this forward. And finally, I have to say this. I mentioned this to Molly the other day. I said we have to, for our allies out there, for everyone, to whatever degree that you consider yourself serious about reparations, you have to put money into this movement. We have to do that. If you look at any organization that's been effective at pushing public policy, they have $1 million budgets, and Cobra doesn't even have a $100,000 budget. So we have to put money into this movement so we can move this more effectively. Someone mentioned putting up, okay, I'm gonna end on that. Thank you, Miley. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. We need your support. I'm open and available to work with anyone that's serious about reparations. Feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Marcus Garvey said, up you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. Ashe.
Ashe. Ashe. I want to come to Sister Olaremi, and then we're going to come to Baba AK, and then Anana, who blessed us in, will bless us out.
Yeah, thank you, Molly, and I can vouch for both Jamoke and Anana on the dance floor from 20-something years ago. They still got it. So I just wanted to talk to just the larger community out there and let you all know that we are all one working in a power block. I think it's essential for us to recognize ourselves on a national level as a power block, and that all the organizations, as Jamoke mentioned, should be able to come together and have this national dialogue on a regular basis and see the agency that we create in doing that, where we can extend our localized conversations beyond our local organizations into that national dialogue and consider ourselves a power block like every other ethnic group does in the United States. The one thing we've been missing is unity in our message. You know, that's a powerful thing, to recognize the unity and the agency in our message. Two takeaways that I had that came away from today, and I want to share this to the larger community members, because everything starts on the local level and with the people, like Sister Robin said. She and I have been texting back and forth in the chat. One of the things that's most important about how to, Jamoke, get the funds that you need for this type of movement is to recognize the tools that we have in the United States. One of the most powerful being nonprofit organizations. And I can tell you from our personal and organizational example, the Honkra Development Fund is a wealth development sovereign fund that we started during this pandemic that's growing out to $22 million without reparations being given by the national government. That is a sovereign wealth development fund from a particular private group of people who just decided to come together, work together on behalf of African people in America. That then birthed 7 nonprofit organizations that all have different types of strategies to help our people. And so we are tied to a constituent base of nonprofits. And I think what Robin was saying was very important, that they established a separate nonprofit organization. Let me just tell you this as somebody who exists in the space of nonprofits on a daily basis. Full time, that's what I do. One of the nonprofits I work with is connected to the NBA. And so to that degree, there's only 6 degrees of separation from any of us, from people like Chris Paul, who I work with very directly, him and his family foundation, from people like LeBron James and other folks out there who have nonprofits. So that tool is a powerful tool of education that we need to be spreading around to other people. To that extent, I'll tell you what we've been doing on the ground. So you all are all invited to that September 26th and 27th. The State of the Black Race Conference in Dallas is going to be a virtual online conference that anybody can tap into, just like this one. So I represent the Pihankra Development Fund in that, but it's also tied to the National Reparations Summit, which is another portion of the dialogue. And I'm just saying, on the local level, there are many things we can do to tie children into those conversations, because when you start talking about Chris Paul and LeBron and all those folks who are speaking on behalf of things for Black people, you're patching in the professional sports folks, you're patching in entertainers and other folks like that who are also making statements like T.I. and the stuff that he's doing with Lloyds of London. So when we hear those national discussions that are happening in pop culture, we can tie into that and bring that right back into our organizations and offer education around that. That conference is called the State of the Black Race, Black Wall Streets, with an S everywhere. The reason why we call it Black Wall Streets everywhere is because we want people to understand that all these examples and all of these strategies on the local levels are strategies if they're happening in the living, breathing space which people exist in. So it's not a us or them, it's not this organization versus that organization, it's all of us. What are we doing on our local level? And how can we bring the children into that conversation? And my last point, which I'll end on, is that when we talk about cannabis and legalized cannabis and taxation on cannabis, then we should be tying some of those cannabis taxes, like Sister Robin said, back to this reparations movement and back to our organizations. Because people, cities like Asheville and cities like Providence, Rhode Island, and those cities that have taken measures to start doing things, we need to let them know that we have the intellect and the tools, like Robin just laid out, to have some of these strategies mapped out, and all they have to do is start sending some of those dollars to the strategies that we have already. So that being said, thank you all for allowing us to come together, and definitely Molly, thank you for continuing. You haven't said anything about you, and he's very modest. He's been doing the same thing consistently and congruently for the last 30 years that I've known him. So we definitely appreciate everything that you're doing, fighting on the front street, in the legal realm, fighting on the front street with all these marches and whatnot, and then taking time to create a space like this with Black Man Lab and all the things that you do. So thank you.
Sis, appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, Baba AK.
Yes, and as stated earlier, I'm a member of the Malcolm X grassroots movement. I would ask anyone interested to go to our website, Free the Land, mxgm.org. I am personally, Baba Conrad, who we talked about earlier, gave me an assignment a couple of years ago to work with a team of people to develop a reparations curriculum under the leadership of NCOBRA founder, Adjoa Ayatoro. And with that, I did the first pilot class this past spring that Baba Conrad participated in, Cam Howard, Sister Robin Simmons, Baba Jamoke. We had Ward Churchill, several people participate. And just to try to educate college students and try to create the next generation of reparations advocates. And we'll be teaching that class again this spring. And we'll be doing a lot of it, of course, online and make it available for the community also. So I just end with that, Free the Land, and I'm honored to be a part of this and ready to carry on the work. Oh, and Brother Taylor, it is. I know Odie Donald too, Brother Baker. He was my student, so and I talk to him often. So let's talk.
Thank you, Baba. Free the Land. And Sister Anana, if you can close us out, you all. This has been an absolute honor. I appreciate you all so much. You all have given 2 hours of your Saturday, and that's significant and that's honorable. And thank you for letting the ancestors speak through you and guide you and invite you to do the continued work. And so we just really, really give thanks. So I want Anana to close us out. And I hope that we will absolutely remain in contact as we move forward together in this struggle and in this movement. So Anana.
Ashe. I want to make sure everybody understands that it's hard to lead a meeting, to sit and learn, to join movements when you're in pain, right? So we're talking about pain, we're talking about trauma, we're talking about generational brutalities, whether it be financial, physical, emotional, or psychological. So understand that even the topic of trauma is traumatic when you have to address it. And I just want to ask that we bring compassion to the conversation, compassion for our people and compassion for ourselves. To be engaged with this topic on a regular basis is to be engaged with trauma. And the fact that we have lost some degree of understanding of that is the success of slavery. So I want to challenge everyone who's listening and those who are on this panel to become a self-care revolutionary and debunk the idea that we can't take care of ourselves and address our people at the same time. Can we all take a deep breath? Bring ourselves to a point where we can relax the cells in our body, where we can welcome everyone who's joined us to really join in this spiritual exercise of joining our past, present, and the prayers for our future. Creator, we know that you orchestrated all of this. We know that whatever individual pains, whatever individual repair we are all looking for, that is waiting for us in the journey as we stay proactive and engage with you. We thank you for those who've come before us, whose spirits prayed that we would have this meeting today, whose hearts and bodies endured more than we could ever endure, just so that we could carry the hope and the faith that they had to this moment on this Zoom call. We pray that every piece of education that's been learned here will be reinforced, that we will pass it on with positive and loving energy. We also pray for those who are confused about the idea of repairing the centuries of damage caused to our people. We pray that they find peace and understanding, and when they face us in the street, in the courtroom, in community halls, that they become calm, open, and welcoming of the information that we have. Lord, last I ask that you grant us the courage to be honest about what we critically need as individuals, as families, and as a community, and that we take that bravery as we move forward. Thank you, Ashe, and Amen.
Ashe and Amen. Thank you all. Peace and blessings to all. We look forward to seeing you all as we continue to struggle. Peace and blessings on behalf of Beacon Hill Black Alliance and Black Man Lab and Let Us Make Man. Thank you all and God bless you. Peace, free the land, and reparations now.